Welcome to Rap in Order, the interrogation of a hip-hop album, where we take some of the culture's most beloved hip-hop albums, put them on the stand, see if they stood the test of time. Now let's see who we got on the stand today.
Dun dun.
These are their stories.
Welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
Today we're joined by that Aviles guy, of course.
Yo.
And we want to get into a very special album. We want to get into the great adventures of Slick Rick. It was released in 1988. We know Slick Rick as being one of the pioneers of storytelling in rap music. Kind of switching it up with the way that we were used to it at that point, right? I mean, we're all in our 30s. But for me, I know Taurian has more of an affinity to Slick Rick's music than I do. So, like, doing a deep dive on this one was really fun. I really haven't heard this album in a while, but even going to it, a lot of the tracks were already familiar because a lot of them really played throughout, whether they were singles or not. It's just such a big part of our culture that, like, you heard these songs even if you were trying to or not. The album was really successful in the 90s. I know it went platinum very much later on, right? Yeah. So it saw its success. Slick Rick is still held from this album and just for being one of the greatest storytellers in hip hop, and it's thanks to this album. It's short and sweet. It's 12 tracks. I know it has a deluxe version.
Yeah.
But I think with the 12 tracks is really the sweet spot to it. As we know in 2022, a lot of albums are 12 tracks now.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about this album looking back on it, and how were you introduced to Slick Rick?
I was introduced to Slick Rick via my mom. Shout out to my mom, Althea Green. This album came out in 88. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about 88. 88 was an insane year for rap music. 88 is the first, many people call 1988 the first greatest year in rap, like as far as like albums. Like I'll list them off to you. Straight Outta Compton, Long Live the Kane by the Big Daddy Kane. We all know the Straight Outta Compton's NWA. Mm-hmm. Right? Strictly Business by EPMD. By All Means Necessary by the Boogie Down Production, KRS-One. It Takes a Nation of Millions by Public Enemy. Follow the Leader by Regg B and Rakim. Biz Markie is Going Off. Easy Does It, Eazy-E. He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper. Shout out to Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. Power by Ice-T, shout out to Ice. And Tougher Than Leather by Run DMC. And the Jungle Brothers had a project that came out in 1988 as well.
That might be the best. That might really be the best year in hip hop. Because of all
So,
those,
some people argue, but some people also argue that 98 is that
I can
year.
understand that,
Yeah,
but
98
still, I don't even think 98 had. I think 98 is our favorite more because we lived that time and we got to really experience it. But if you go by just the amount of people that were that came out like that it's not the same like
right.
That's a competitive ass freshman class.
That is right. So I wasn't even a freshman class, but speaking of freshman class, what I want to say about this, right, with this album, right, the anticipation for Slick Rick's album was insane because Lottie Dottie and the show with Dougie Fresh came out in 1985. Mm-hmm. So Dougie Fresh was going on tour, and like Slick Rick was like an urban legend because like he would go around and like do these freestyles and shit like that, and he had a British accent. Mm-hmm. Well, he was Jamaican. Mm-hmm. So to everybody that was fucking their heads up because Jamaican artists made reggae. So Slick Rick talking that way, and then he had such an arrogance about him, and like basically he was being held as like the next coming, right? Mm-hmm. And he got signed to Def Jam, so him and LL had like a whole competition thing going on. Him and Rakim, because Rakim was managed by Russell Simmons, like, so everyone knew that Slick Rick was coming, but like he got delayed 2 years, and he was really frustrated because pretty much most of his album was done before 1988. He wanted his album to drop in '86, but like they wanted him to like wait and just get things okay, and so he did a lot of touring, right? And it was even to the point where like people Dougie Fresh was when he was going on tour with the Get Fresh crew, Dougie Fresh was a star, but they were saying that Dougie Fresh was his hype man, and he was Dougie Fresh's hype man, right? So 88 comes, Slick Rick is like an urban legend, like he's talked about. So like we all know that Rakim and Kane was just coming out, right? So like Kane was on the come up, but like the way my mom explained it was like Slick Rick was like this like mystical figure because like he would go in parks and do freestyles and he was this flashy dude. So this is, and remember, like people say, what about Kane? But this is before Kane got money. So like Slick Rick was like doing that shit because he was a stick up kid. He was robbing people. He was getting money doing that. So that's like the whole setup. So my thoughts, as far as like the album goes, is like obviously this is a pivotal album, and I think that I'll get into this later, but I think that him going to jail made this album more like a more praised and hailed album, and it's kind of the effect of like Biggie dying too soon as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it didn't deserve it, but it made people appreciate it more, is what I'm saying, because we knew that we couldn't get new material from him. So like and we got a second album that came out, the Art of Storytelling, that came out in '91, but it came out while he was going to jail. So a lot of stuff had to be promoted while he was on the way to jail,
right?
And it just didn't work out like properly. So it didn't work out like how when Pac put out Me Against the World.
Yeah, it's still a great album,
right? It didn't work out that way, but like I just think that like Slick Rick was a pioneer as far as like fashion, as far as arrogance and style. Like you could see a little bit of so many rappers right now, like that like take from Slick Rick. Like obviously Ghostface Killer with wearing the extravagant jewelry, ASAP Rocky, with the arrogance. He absolutely, what I'm saying, like has probably like seen like images. With, I mean, shit. The first the rule is back. Jay-Z literally bar for bar, word for word is what I'm saying, doing that, and it's all homage to Slick Rick, and there's so many other like artists like coming along. I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, all of Kendrick Lamar's projects are storytelling projects, right? So I just think that like Slick Rick's influence on hip hop, like I think that he gets recognized, but I don't think that he gets recognized enough. Like not to my liking.
I think there's a gray area in his career for sure, and it has a lot to do, like you said, with him being locked up, and a lot of people, especially in our generation, they recognize Slick Rick for for storytelling, but there's also they don't really have the receipts like they should, like they don't really know about the extent of it.
People don't know his story, like I said, and think about it, like. If you look back at the 80s and you think about all of this stuff bunch, then sometimes it's like even hard to like be like I was asking Mom, I was like, Mom, like how was he considered the nicest? She was like, no, baby, because there was a build up, because he can't like, and we were waiting for his album since '85. She was like, so think about it, 3 years back then seemed like a lifetime, and then we get in like other rappers. Rakim came out '86,
right?
Like what I'm saying, like. Slick Rick was like one of the and then at that time a huge turn came in music. There were like artists who could be becoming more conscious and talking, because that was at the end of the crack era, and like Slick Rick was still more so like the party, funny kind of like fart jokes MC, right? So it was like him and Biz Markie that like had that lane, and Biz wasn't as lyrically gifted as a Slick Rick. So
and so what about you, Danny? Like did you already, obviously being a fan of hip hop, you knew about the importance of Slick Rick, but did you already do like deep dives before, like prior?
All right. So me, I grew up until I was like maybe 10, 11, was what my parents listened to, which is Spanish and English pop. After that, when I started getting into rap, at the time, I was more what was going on in the 90s. And then my brother, when The Ruler's Back came out, my brother was like, in high school, my brother was like, you know where that's from? And I was like, nah. Like, I knew who Slick Rick was by then, but I only knew but like Lottie Dottie and like Hey Young World and Mona Lisa, But I'd never done the deep dives. And he's like, no, you need to listen to this. And he played it. And I was like, oh. And then I saw all the influence he had immediately. This is a great album. Like it's a little some of the content gets really uncomfortable when
he's immature, he's sexist,
misogynistic,
it's
a little rapey too at times. So it's it's harder to listen to now, but there's still the production element of it, the realizing how innovative he was at the time with the arrogance. Like Arrogance, I feel he changed the game when it came to rapping with an arrogant demeanor.
He used to call other artists crumbs.
Yeah, there's a change in the way rappers came off. I felt after that, besides just being want to be the best and everything, and the arrogance really was turned up, and like snobbishly, and it was great because he knew he could hang with everybody, but he was just gonna make music that was entertaining.
Yeah,
like it was over lyrical. You could play it at a party, and it was entertaining.
and a big part of that was the production too.
Jam Master Jay.
Yeah,
Most of the album is produced by Slick Rick, but Jam Master Jay has a production credit on there.
The Bomb Squad.
One of the members of the Bomb Squad. Yeah, I'm sorry, I know this album like front.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
But I will say the funny thing is that Slick Rick's second album is insanely slept on, and it's solely because
Behind Bars.
No, not Behind Bars. The second
Artist
album.
Storytelling.
Yeah, no, it's not the artist storytelling. I'm sorry, I said the wrong name too. I'm gonna just Google it right now. But his second project is insanely slept on, and because the artist storytelling is one that came out after he came home from jail.
Yeah,
Get it for you right now.
The Rule Is Back.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So The Rule Is Back is his second project, and The Rule Is Back is actually his best project.
Okay. So that was in 91.
Yeah. That album came out in 91, and it came like he was already going to jail. He got sentenced to 6 years in prison, I believe, for assault, and then when he got out of jail, he got deported.
Oh, he was bailed out of jail by Russell?
Yeah, he was signed to Def Jam.
Oh, okay.
He was signed to Def Jam. He was bailed out, but it was not like Russell. Like he pretty much he was carrying a gun. I think the person that he attempted to kill was a relative of his.
His cousin.
His cousin. Yeah, so it was just one of those things. Like Rick just didn't trust a lot of people, and he had like a bunch of other trauma going on. But long story short, people hailed the Great Adventures of Slick Rick in like high regard, but I really think that his second album didn't get appreciated because he went to jail.
Yeah.
And people just thought they were like, and then they knew once he got out he was getting deported, so they thought like, and you gotta think back then hip hop was small, so they didn't think he could be like 21 Savage and like still fight it
And
get
just
out,
still
like
go
that,
and do his thing.
They thought like, yo, he's going back to London. We'll never hear from this nigga again.
True.
Yeah, but
Because I remember my brother like explaining to me deportation because of Slick Rick. Getting deported. I had no clue what that meant.
Oh yeah, because y'all American.
Yeah, Puerto Ricans American.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. I'm about to say, nah, y'all know, but nah, you're Puerto Rican, y'all American.
Yeah. But okay, so we getting into the album. The album kicks off with "Treated Like a Prostitute." It's produced by Slick Rick. Of course, on the surface, the title, would throw some people off.
Yeah.
But the subject matter kind of turns that around, right? Because of what he's talking about and the type of woman that he's talking about.
Yeah, it's you get the impression like, oh no, and the chorus also is like, but he also says, until you show her the scoop, and he's basically like, yo, make sure you're aware that, and he also says it too, make sure you're aware feelings are reciprocated, make sure it's not a girl just using you for whatever, and make sure that you don't get played like a dummy, and he gives examples through his art of storytelling.
Yeah, it's a lot of lessons in this album, and this is just one of them. Like on the surface, well, you were gonna ask something.
I mean, nah, this was a problematic song, but like this was like a song that was played at parties.
Yeah.
And like it's just funny, like when you think about it now, right? Because at this time my mom was a teenager. In 1988, my mom was 19 years old. So, like, when she tells me this, I'm just like, whoa. Like, my mom was 19, my dad was 20. My dad was in college. My mom was, like, home raising me and shit. And, like, when she couldn't get away to go out, like, songs like this were being played, and, like, they would come on, and then, like, she's doing the fucking Running Man or some shit to this.
Treated like a prostitute.
Your mom doing the Running Man to this is hilarious.
I'm just saying, like, it's just funny. Like, I'm like, why? Like, what do you mean, like, they would play this song? Like,
that takes us into What were you gonna say?
I'm like, damn.
Like just picturing that.
Yeah, it's like what?
But it's
like,
just to this song. It's like the Running Man.
yeah,
now.
like why? Like you know.
He not talking about me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that takes us into The Ruler's Back, which is the track that Danny was talking about when you mentioned Jam Master Jay, because he produced this one. Ruler's Back, man. This is like the braggadocious early rap.
Him,
you know,
him
like
talking his shit.
Him
like,
talking his shit.
Yo, so there's a story about how Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane like were like in competition because basically Slick Rick felt that Kane kind of like stole his like Slick Rick's image as far as like walking around like Ric Flair and shit like that, like walking around with the fur, walking around with all the jewelry and shit like that. Like that was pretty much like Ric Flair, like you know,
No, I get it.
getting that from him, right? So like they will go on tour and like pretty much like sometimes like. It would like flip flop. So like Slick Rick used to complain. He'd be like, "Yo, why is he opening? Like why? Like he would want to open or then he would want to close." So like one night, Big Daddy Kane, like, cause he would come out with the performance and shit like that, and like he was really like, "Yo, what the fuck is this dude problem?" And Slick Rick like pulled out like a machete and tried to like kill him.
Oh shit!
And it was like a big deal. And like Slick Rick was always getting into issues. Like he was slap boxing with Rakim, and since Rakim was short, like he slapped Rakim and like knocked his hat off his head. And Rakim got really mad about that shit. Like, it was just always something that, like, Slick Rick was doing, like, fucking with people.
Wild Caribbean in him.
Just picking fights with everybody. But, yeah, the Ruler's Back, and like, another thing, the Ruler's Back, the flow that he used on the Ruler's Back is the same thing they use on Lottie Dottie with Dougie Fresh.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I never realized that.
I feel like this is also, like, a kind of one of the first like claimings of the title when he came and said I'm the ruler. Like I feel like people say that they're the best, but I feel like at that time they all dropped. Like I think they're all in the same lane of that with Rakim.
Yeah, Kumo D did it early on, and then when I forgot who the hell was the dude that he battled back in the day.
KRS-One?
No. Kumo D battled LL Cool J, but before that, to get the title that he won at Harlem World on 125th Street, I forgot the gentleman's name that he battled, and like that was like Kumo D becoming so like the best rapper alive title is what happened, and I can't remember the dude's name, but basically he's right. He's like ball to bang, like he used to do that, and that was him freestyling. And Kumo D actually,
I knew you were gonna fucking say that.
Kid Rock.
That's Kid Rock.
Yeah, but that's where he got that from. But nah, like I forgot the rap. Right? I might as well just Google him
that was
now.
my shit too.
But yeah, like basically Kumo D came in and started like straight up like freestyling, and you know, shout out to Harlem, you know, he won.
You looking it up now?
Yeah.
This is also one of the most like quoted songs I feel in hip hop.
The Ruler's Back?
Yeah.
and
Like different
a lot
parts of the song.
Yeah, in a lot of different ways. I think.
Busy B.
Oh, it was Busy B.
Yeah, so he battled Busy B, and back then Busy B used to do the same thing all the time. He would come out and get the crowd hype because back then, you know, MCs were just like the hype man. And Kumo D came out and just started calling him a bum and saying that he sucks and he can't dress. Like doing like a rap battle, like a real live rap battle, and it fucked people's heads up and like kind of like changed the trajectory of rap.
That's fucking crazy.
Imagine like a nigga come in there, he just in there like ball the bang, and then Kumo D comes in there and it's like,
fuck your mother.
Yeah, fuck your mother, your breath stinks.
First rap battle had to be so fucking intense, bro. Somebody just coming at you like,
like whoa, bro, what you doing? Like why ain't you ramming?
Imagine he
shit
talking
together?
like, fuck your breath stinks. 1, 2. And it don't stop.
I love seeing those memes like, yo, the worst thing in the world back then was to be called a sucker MC. Cause like it'd be these crazy memes. It's hilarious.
Nah, bro. Like think about before that. Like our grandparents, the worst thing to be called was a jive turkey.
Yeah.
It sounds like Vietnam War stories when people talk about it, but back then.
Right? Back in my day. So The Ruler's Back is followed up by Children's Story, which is produced by Slick Rick himself. What hasn't been said about this song, right? Like when
This song was made in one take.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have. There's no hook on it. He literally told a story, and it's a cautionary tale about two friends. They become thieves, and one of the kid can't stop stealing.
Yeah, he gets addicted to it.
He gets addicted to
It's a
stealing.
klepto.
Yeah.
But then no, yeah.
He dies at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets killed.
He gets killed by a cop, right?
Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
killed by
Cop
he
shot
robbed
the kid,
he
cop
robbed
shot
yeah
the kid.
he robs a undercover cop.
Yeah.
And once he realizes it's too late to like get away, and yeah, cop shot the kid, shot.
Yeah. So I think, and this is part of Slick Rick's appeal, especially back then for like me listening as young as I was. The stories aren't really that intricate. They're easy to follow along. It's done great. He sounds great. The production is great. Like everything just, and it's not necessarily clean rap because the subject isn't clean, but it's like it's easy to just follow through, you know, and you can like picture it when you listening to it, which I think really works well for him. So Children's Story is like that shit transcended. Like that shit, it's such a big.
It's
song.
one of the singles, right?
Yeah.
This had 5 singles altogether.
I think it had 3.
It was 3 singles.
Yeah, I think it had 3.
It was 3. And
Hey
also,
Young World, Mona Lisa, Teenage Love, Children's Story.
So 4.
And that's 4, yeah.
Okay, 4. Yeah, and what's the next one?
Oh yeah. The next one is The Moment I Feared.
All right, I this is my thing, right? This is how talented this dude was. If you listen to it and you just hear his voice, you're like, oh man, this dude is making like these horrible ass stories sound like Dr. Seuss songs.
Yeah.
Like that's like impressive as hell to me because he's telling these stories and like when you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh, this is a terrible story, but he's making it sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like not that the story's terrible, it's the content of it. It's
Yeah,
like
it's a dark story that
it's
he's
a dark
telling.
story, but it's like it's definitely it's a lesson in it also. And it's like, yo, if you're gonna be doing dirt, expect to be in situations. Also, this song I didn't like because the guy who's getting cheated on, his name is Danny, and I didn't like the way Rick was talking. And it's basically it's the story of him. He's cool with this dude Danny, and then he bumps into Danny and his girl. He gives them he guides them to some place that he's like, oh yeah, no, that's right next to my crib. Like they're asking for directions. He walks them there, and he's like, all right, well I live here. I'll see you guys later. And then like apparently the next day, this dude's girl just knocks on his door like, yo, what's up? And they go to her crib, and Danny shows up, and he has to kill Danny.
It's a dark, and he tells this story in such a fucking uplifting, chipper voice. It's just it throws you off until you listen to the content. It's like holy shit.
And it starts off with him getting made fun of for not being able to afford jewelry, and then after he kills Danny, Danny's girlfriend puts him onto all of Danny's coke, and he then kills her, takes all the coke and sells it so he can get his chain finally, a real chain.
And this song samples "Out of Here" by KRS-One. What was his relationship with KRS-One like? Do you know?
He was a dickhead, son. Slick Rick had no good relationships with rappers, bro. Like he did, like, it was like competitive nature, but he was addicted to them.
Yeah, that's that braggadocious, I'm better than everybody type shit. Let's Get Crazy follows that though, and it's produced by the Bomb Squad. How we feel?
It's a great song.
I'm not really a fan of Let's Get Crazy. Let's Get Crazy is one of my lesser favorite songs by Slick Rick, yes.
Yeah, I never really liked this one that
I'm not
much.
a fan of Let's Get Crazy. Like that, like this is actually one of the low points of the album for me.
It part of it gives me Beastie Boy vibes, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I get it.
I can see that. I can see that actually. We can move on to the next one, which is Indian Girl, an adult story.
Yo, why is why? What is he doing on the Indian reservation?
Oh, that's your problem with the story.
Well, no, that's where I'm going to start.
Okay.
Then he goes and he makes the Indian noises. Mm-hmm. Like when he pulls up on Shorty. Like, how do you go? Ooh, when you pull up on Shorty?
Davy Crockett was a frontiersman who used to fight the Indians and kill them all. So he's basically
and scalp their heads.
Native Americans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We mean Native Americans. The song is
David Crockett.
politically incorrect, and it's named Indian Girl, but we
Yeah.
mean Native Americans.
Right.
And basically, he's raping her because she says no and stops several times.
Yeah.
And he takes that as an excuse to keep going forward.
She thought she was playing hard to get.
And eventually, she apparently gives in. But then he goes off the wall and decides he needs to look her, as he quotes, look the vagina face to face.
Yeah.
And he opens it up, and he says he sees tribesmen doing like Native American dancing, and he imitates their, I guess, song. I guess, I don't want to say it because he does a mocking of Native American culture, and it's just it's crazy to hear now because like as a kid you think nothing of it, and it's been years since I heard this album.
Nah, I knew it was wrong first time I heard it.
I didn't.
I heard it and I was like, yo, what is this dude doing?
I didn't, but now I'm like, holy shit! Like I always knew it was rapey. That was weird, but it's more the cultural aspect too of it, and like I'm like, damn, like he really got away with all of that.
And then he ends it by saying that the girl gave him crabs.
Yeah.
Insane. But then also, like you said, like, I mean, there was always the aspect of this being wrong, but then, I don't know, for whatever reason, back then, that shit that was wrong, they just let go. Nobody really...
Yeah.
It was just everybody championed freedom of speech in a different way back then.
Right. Yeah, because you got to think, when this album came out, the parental advisory sticker didn't even get put on.
Yeah,
albums
you're right.
That didn't happen until after Uncle Luke.
Yeah, you're right. That takes us into Teenage Love. Teenage Love is produced by the Bomb Squad. I was gonna ask too. Do you think he was inspired by I Need Love?
He wasn't inspired. He was forced to do the song. I was going to get into that. They told him that he had to do this song because I Need Love was becoming such a big hit.
Yeah, and that was only a year prior.
And Def Jam kind of like had like a formula, and that was like his beef because he wanted to be nothing like LL. Because like LL was like, it's funny, like LL was looked at as like hard back then, but like after I Need Love came out, like he was kind of getting like teased for being like this ladies man. And stuff, so like people was like, "Yo, this dude's not like, like he's not hard, like he's not making music that we really want to do." And Slick Rick just did it, but he was like, "All right, I'm just gonna put my own spin on this shit. Like I'm not gonna be soft like LL, like in a sense."
Teenage Love. Yeah, you can kind of hear the elements of it because LL.
It sounds like the same sample almost.
Yeah. It was just bigger than life, and like when I was listening, I'm like, LL came out. I Need Love. That was in '87, and this was '88. So
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah. What follows that is Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is produced by Slick Rick himself. Another monster song.
Well, this is one of the greatest hip hop songs. Mona Lisa is one of the greatest hip hop songs ever made. Period. Is dope, and then also what I think is dope is how he made this song and he's using like his different personas and shit. So I think that's dope as well too. Like he's acknowledging that like, all right, I have different personas, and I think that is what put him over the top with a lot of people as far as putting him as his favorite MC, because that was like unheard of. Like, wait a second, like, you got Ricky D and you have Slick Rick the Ruler. Like it was just something where like he was actually able to let you know like, yeah, there's two sides of me, and like acknowledge it and then put it and put it on wax and like do it so cleverly. Like it was just dope. It was unheard. It was never done before.
It was very ahead of his time, especially with the wave of alter egos that came after this.
Yeah, I feel like almost every rapper has their alter ego.
Yeah,
they have to.
2007 or 6 was crazy. Everybody had an alter ego.
Yeah, but you have to, like, basically with him doing that, like everyone has. Like Nas definitely dived into it. Like he has like alter egos. Eminem, obviously, right? You know what I'm saying? Biggie, like
Wu-Tang.
All the Wu-Tang members have alter egos, right?
Biggie, Jay,
yeah. Like that's just like a thing. Like it kind of like came like when you like kind of like have to do that. I guess whenever you're trying to get into whatever mindset.
It gives you an excuse to tap into like another side. You know. And then in interviews it got weird, like, oh, that wasn't me, that was Sasha Fierce. Like it was just weird. It's like, all right. The next song that follows that is Kit. What's the Scoop is produced by the Bomb Squad.
Yeah, I thought that this was dope because like in '88, Knight Rider was like the biggest TV show out, and like basically he's speaking from as Michael Knight and Kit, the car from Knight Rider, and taking on that concept, right? And that's pretty dope because it's just like, yo, like Knight Rider was the shit. I wish he would have. I wish he would have flipped the Knight Rider beat.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably would have been, for the time, that would have been crazy bread for hip hop.
Nah, but no, like back then, like sampling wasn't like it wasn't at that time because hip hop was. That's why people were able to sample so much back then. Like they can't, like dudes had to come back. So the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that like sampling became like a huge deal was MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice. That's because they were the number one songs in the country. Like, and hip hop, like, was still like this small niche thing. So artists was able to like sample shit and be okay. And then here comes fucking MC Hammer sampling all this James Brown. And then James Brown was like, all right, he took him to court and like basically got like half of everything. And then Rick James came and got half of everything.
Yeah.
Rick James solely didn't come home from jail broke because of MC Hammer. He had to like get all the royalties from MC Hammer for like what he was sampling. Think about that. Thank God for MC Hammer. Like we might have not gotten Rick James as long as we did.
Right. That's crazy.
But yeah, I think that this song was really clever as well. It was a dope concept, and like it was just what Slick Rick, like what he was doing, like he was a visionary, and like and you could tell that he had a very like funny sense of humor. And I think personally that if he would have got more time, he definitely would have came up with like a cartoon or something like that.
I think so.
Yo, you wanna know what's crazy? I bet you that Slick Rick would do an amazing children's show.
I think he would too. I think it would have
like
I
his
think
own
it would have
version of Lamb
elements
Chop.
in it. It would have elements in it for adults though.
Yeah.
Nah, he would have to completely tone it down. It would have to be for children. But I'm just saying, like, if he did his own version of Lamb Chop,
I can see him doing an Adult Swim cartoon.
no, I'm not talking about adult. I'm talking about for kids, Danny. Like solely for children, for kids.
Yeah, but we're entertaining that we like the other idea better.
No, you are.
Okay.
Nah, I like both. I think I like if he did an Adult Swim one.
Danny's always like, yeah,
dope.
but let's make it dark. Always.
So that follows up with Hey Young World.
Yes.
Hey Young World is produced by Slick Rick, of course.
Of course, this is where Nas got Whose World Is This? The concept for that. This song is also one of Mos Def's favorite songs ever, and I just think that this is just a dope song. And
I love how Lloyd
just
flipped
here.
this too, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Oh my goodness, yes.
That was really good.
I think that was all Irv Gotti though. I think Irv Gotti brought that concept to him. And everything.
I can see that.
I think it inspired so many other songs too. Like it's kind of like the original "I Know I Can."
Well, yeah, I think Nas definitely like Nas and Mos Def like love Slick Rick. And if I'm not mistaken, like I think that like Slick Rick is Nas's favorite rapper, like his first favorite rapper, and then like obviously he respects MC Shan, he respects Kane, Rakim, and Cool G Rap, but like I think Slick Rick is his favorite.
That would make sense because Nas is really good at storytelling and like specific storytelling. Like his storytelling is very pristine, like Slick Rick is. So, Hey Young World is followed by Teacher Teacher. You all right?
He was a fucking goofball, bro.
Yeah, and it's produced by the Bomb Squad.
He was just a class clown. Like he was just a consummate class clown, and he just had like a lot of like nasty humor about himself. Like I just. That's what I have to say.
A lot of his songs, and I get why you say that about the cartoons. I more so see Slick Rick as like something like, I don't know, the article I did for 21 Savage, something like that could be done for Slick Rick where his lyrics can be made into exaggerated cartoons.
Nobody's
or
made
series.
this. I feel like there was not a coloring book rather that was based on
Teacher
on the Adventures
or the album.
the whole
Okay.
album.
I'm pretty sure there was. I'm pretty sure if you're going to Etsy.
Yeah, it probably is. But I think he inspires a lot of shit like that because like his lyrics are so colorful and imaginative. Like you can just see it.
I kind of feel like he does try to put a lesson in it, though. Oddly enough,
and
even in this is
everything.
definitely like a lesson. Like talk to the youth song.
Yeah, and in all of his shit, like early shit. I mean, this whole album is just filled with lessons at the end of it, and is blatant too.
Cautionary tales.
Yeah. And the album caps off with "Lick My Balls," and it's produced by the Bomb Squad. Which is, this song is a sharp left from the rest of the album. That's why I like that it's at the end.
This was apparent. This was told to me was like a live show crowd pleaser, because it was him. You know how sometimes. So Slick Rick had an interview that I watched, and he said that he named the song this because rappers will always say, "I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna shit on them," and he was like, "Nah, these niggas gonna have to lick my balls." And that's where he came from, and it was just him, like, he just always was like proclaiming like his, like, because he had that voice and that tone, like he always like talked down to other rappers and other MCs, and basically just let it be known like that he's the better rapper, the more superior rapper. And I think,
do you think it's just because he has a British accent?
Yes.
Comes off,
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the only reason it comes off more pompous than anything.
No, that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I wish 21 Savage would embrace it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
like
he embraced it for like a couple videos.
No, if he like really does embrace it, I would love it. Like, yo, go do a fucking grime song real quick.
If he came, that would sound fire.
Yo, bro,
I think so.
I think Skepta is fucking dope, bro. I think the fact that Skepta talks like, you know what I'm saying, like he's a part of the royal family and he raps is dope. I watch everybody in Top Boy and I'm like, why is like you? What do you mean you're poor? You talk rich. But yeah, like this closing song of the album, yeah, like it's a stark contrast to everything that he was doing. But I think it was just like something fun that he wanted to like add onto the album just to end it off. And I mean, it's just interesting that like how confident he was. Like, and I think that's another thing, like, because like he represented what an MC was supposed to represent as far as like confidence.
Yeah.
Like if you look
naturally,
up
it wasn't no textbook confidence type shit.
Yeah, no.
If you look up confident rapper MC, Slick Rick is in that in the dictionary. His face is there.
He just speaks so condescendingly.
Yeah,
like it just, you can't help it. It's braggadocious without trying to. Without having to floss,
right?
It's Muhammad Ali, it's Gorgeous George, it's Ric Flair. You know what I'm saying? Like what he does.
Slick Rick would have been an amazing wrestling personality.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe he would have been a good manager. I don't know.
I don't think yet. I mean, because he can't wrestle with one eye.
But yeah, he would have been. It would have been cool.
You got to see what's coming. Sorry,
he'll be. You needed to add that, didn't you?
Of course.
But no, it would have been cool to just have him in the ring and then maybe have like a hit every now and then, because you get those personalities in wrestling, right? That
Bobby
end up in the ring,
Heenan,
and they'll end up snuffing somebody just every now and then. Him being one of those would be
It's funny because there was a wrestling manager. His name was Slick. That used to come to the ring and like he used to come out and dance and shit like that with this dude named Bad News Brown. I'm sorry, I watch like a lot of old wrestling too, and this is a dude named Slick, and I think they got him from Slick Rick.
That's interesting.
It's funny.
But that brings us to the close of the Great Adventures of Slick Rick. Danny, what's your rating?
4 out of 5.
Okay, and what's your reason?
The only reason it goes slightly down is because some of the content hasn't aged well, but overall, it's one of the most. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. Okay. I think it's one of the most important albums. Mm-hmm. And like, it's one of those albums that if you're gonna give somebody an intro to rap, this is one of them that I'd. I'd give. If you're giving like a beginning to end, or like even just like what old school stuff should I listen to? Like, if I was talking to a kid who wanted to rap now, I'd be like, yo, listen to that and see how just off of how much fun he's having. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that's a big thing that a lot of rappers don't sound like they're having fun. Everybody's just killing each other, which might be fun.
It's fun to listen to sometimes.
But
but this is a nice break from that. What's your rating?
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. The reason why I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 is because some of the songs over time have not aged well, and it's kind of like a time capsule, and that's not a bad thing, right? But I just say that I don't say that it's the perfect album, because I don't think that this album can come out at any time, right? It's a very dated album, one, and then two, also, not even just comparing it to itself, like not comparing it to albums now, but compared to the other albums that came out in '88, it's not better than some of the albums that came out in '88. It's not the best project that came out in '88, right? But it's innovative, so it's like that's why I'm just like a 4.5, like because it's a damn near classic because it's the first of its kind. So it's like if you're in a storytelling rap class, like you have to use this project. This has to be the project that's studied, right? So I understand why it's a classic for some people, but I have to take off that half a point, that half a point for myself because I'm like, all right, it's not perfect. Like it's not a flawless album. It has its flaws. Slick Rick isn't as because you have MCs that came out that dropped that year like Rakim and Kane and KRS, right? He's not a better rapper than any of those three rappers, right? Obviously, he does something really well, and he really leaned into that, and he perfected it and did it probably the best. And I want to say that arguably he had the best album cover that year too.
Amazing album cover,
right?
I wish he had different sneakers on.
I do too, but I mean, he's Jamaican, so like they wore those. Not for real. I'm not being funny. I'm not saying it like that. Like it's their cultures. They shit.
I think for me, I'm gonna give this album a 3.5. I think as amazing and groundbreaking as this album is for storytelling, you guys kind of already touched on the reasons for me. Like some of the content, I mean, mind you, is 88, of course. A lot of the content gets by, so that's a really, really big, point for it. But for me, a lot of the content on here didn't age very well. There's songs on here that I love. Obviously, Children's Story, The Ruler's Back. Teenage Love I really like. Hey Young World. So like the ones that I really like on here I really like, but the ones that I don't care for overall is just I don't see myself going back to this album that often, but I respect it. It has more on the respect level. It's through the roof, like it's off the charts. But musically, I don't really revisit this that much. But I appreciate what it's done for hip hop. And the progression.
I understand that. Like me knowing you, like I understand exactly where you're coming from. You just know me, like I'm like the consummate, like go back and listen to music from this time period. And I think I was one of those people that had like a young parent. So like this was the music that like I've been hearing since I was out the womb.
Yeah.
Like I was born in '86. This album came out in '88. Like so it's kind of like embedded in me to like hear it, and it brings back like very like I guess let me collect my words. When you know how sometimes like when you hear music and it kind of brings back a really good feeling or memory to you.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever I hear this project,
nostalgic.
like there you go. It's a nostalgic feeling that I have. So I can't deny it. And then because like I had young parents, which also made me have like other younger mentors that are around me when I talk about music. Like this album was one of those albums that like was constantly like talked about and constantly like pushed on me. Like even like when I talk to other musicians, like artists now, if I ask them like, yo, what do you think about the Adventures of Slick Rick? Like they have a story or they tell me how much they respect it. And I think, that goes a long way. So, and I think that's solely like why I like Slick Rick. Like he doesn't have to do anything ever again, and like this album just does that for him.
Right,
it's catapulted him to that much, and I think that says a lot too. Because there's a lot of artists that like I know Slick Rick has put out other albums, but there's a lot of artists who put out so many albums and they don't have that groundbreaking album or that landmark album that people can like lean on and everything. So I think that makes a huge difference. Like. Take somebody. This is gonna sound fucked up, right? And maybe I might be alone in this, but like take somebody like Ja Rule. Always had hit singles, right? But I don't think that he has an album that people go to and they're like, oh man, they could make a great Ja Rule playlist. But I don't think there's a Ja Rule album that like somebody's like, oh man, this album was iconic. Or I remember this. It's mostly his songs of him like killing 106 in Park.
Penny's Love.
You don't listen to all of it.
I think I would say Rule 336. That was his big album.
That was the first one.
That's the one we'll put it on.
Vedi Vedi Vici was the first album.
With the Red Bandana. No, that was the one that was his first.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when he started his run.
Rule 336 was the one. That was what put it on me.
That's
and
the 6 Feet Underground.
Yeah, I Cry, 6 Feet Under. But no, I get for the most part. You're right though. I think that is like his.
Like people don't mention Ja Rule's albums. They talk about his singles. They talk about how he had the charts. Like Ja Rule did numbers, but like his singles is what really sold. Like people don't talk. Like people talk about the great adventures of Slick Rick, the body of work.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So like that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying like there are some artists like that actually care about that shit. Like they're like, oh, I don't like, you know, they want to like be on the charts and everything like that. And then there's some artists where it's like you're talking about their body of work, and like that just makes a difference.
Yeah,
Yes.
I get that. Yeah, I'm comfortable with this rating, guys. This rating went exactly how I thought it would go.
You thought I was gonna say it was a classic.
I thought so, but then when you said 4.5, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like it just flushed out my initial thought. But I'm First Class Reg.
And I'm Taurian B.
We out of here.
Crumbs.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Give me your fucking money!